Do you remember I said to you about 1% of doctors today are claiming that antibiotics have caused more problems than they ever cured? And I'm referring to cancer. I have a myriad of books here showing the link between cancer and fungus. This one's called Cancer is a Fungus by Dr. Tullio Simoncini, Italian oncologist that was having phenomenal results with cancer until they took all his qualifications away. Do you know why the pharmaceutical companies hate him? Because he's using something that can't be painted. It's called sodium bicarb. This one's Professor Constantini. He was former head, there's a picture of him. He was former head of the World Health Organization Department of Mycology. What's the Department of Mycology? Studies fungus. After 20 years of independent research, he wanted to publish his books, and the World Health Organization said, we're not going to publish those books, because if medicine acknowledges the fungal link with disease, with cancer, they also have to acknowledge is one of their most popular drugs is actually contributing to it. But what I'd like to just flick through at the back here is I want to show you how much medical research he quotes. There's the index. There are 16 quoted researchers on that page. Wow, he knows his stuff. We've also got another book called The Germ That Causes Cancer by Doug Kaufman, and he works with Dr. Holland. He does a great job at looking at history and the role of fungus and the researchers that showed the fungus link with disease, even cancer. And over 100 years ago, 112 years ago to be precise, medicine and science agreed that cancer was a fungus. Well, here we have another book called Clinical Mycology. What's mycology? Study of fungus. I just want to read you some of the chapters written by 3 doctors. It says here, fungal disease of bone and joint, fungal disease of the cardiovascular system, fungal meningitis, fungal causing mass lesions of the central nervous system, dermatology, ear, nose and throat, gastrointestinal tract, genitourinary, ophthalmology, respiratory. That covers every single part of the human body. This is a medical textbook showing the fungal link with all disease. Dr. Holland, he was asked, are you saying fungus causes most diseases? He said, no, all diseases. Whoa. You see, to date, they have documented 1.5 million different yeasts, molds and funguses, and they all give off, some of them 2 or 3 different mould wastes. 1,000 of them are well known to cause disease in human beings. Someone else who's a recent day guy, he's only about 45, this is Dr. Robert Young, and in his book he showed a very interesting chapter, the lost chapter in the history of biology. What's the lost chapter? It's the role of yeast and fungus. And he quotes some scientific greats who proved this to be true. One was Virginia Livingston Wheeler, Claude Bernard that Pasteur quoted, Gaston Naessens. He also gives information on Antoine Beauchamp, which is very difficult to get any information on him. Interesting books. You're looking at about $2,000 worth of books there. A lot of them out of print, a lot of them hard to get, but there is one you can get in Australia, and it's called the China Study. You may have heard it. Called the most comprehensive study on nutrition ever conducted. We'll be showing you a DVD later in the week that interviews Colin Campbell. And I encourage everyone to read the first chapter while you're here. It's a summary of the whole book. But he grew up on a dairy farm, ate a lot of meat, became a doctor, went into research, became a doctor vet, went into research, and he was asked to go to the Philippines where children were dying of liver cancer between 8 and 10 years of age. He had a look and he found the one common denominator was peanut butter. Peanut grows a mould called aspergillus that gives off a mould waste called aflatoxin. And aflatoxin is probably the most carcinogenic substance ever to be tested. This explains why peanuts are banned in Australian schools, aren't they? It's because of the aflatoxin. It's not the peanut, it's the mould waste. You see, 78% of Aussies live in the city, so their food is grown in the country, and it is in storage that the problem arises. You get a cold frosty morning and a hot sunny day, what's building up in those silos is moisture, which is actually fruitful ground for these guys to develop. So he found in the Philippines it was the peanut butter. Every jar of peanut butter he tested had aflatoxin. He presumed that the poorer children would be dying and the wealthy children would be living, but the opposite was true. The wealthy children were dying and the poorer children were living, and the only difference was what they were eating. The poorer children were eating the native diet, which was lots of greens, seaweeds, lots of vegetables, a little bit of fish, soy. The wealthy children were eating what Time magazine, they called it the meat-sweet diet. Lots of meat, lots of dairy, lots of sugar, lots of refined. And those children were dying. This confronted Colin Campbell because in med school he was taught, you want protein, you eat meat. You want calcium, you drink milk. You know, and that's what these children were drinking a lot of.